At Lifehack Coaching, we help women over 35 to balance hormones naturally, boost metabolism, and lose weight sustainably. Hi everyone. Today on podcast, I'm chatting to one of my amazing clients, Stephani, who has achieved amazing results of her weight loss, over 16 kilos. And even though we already finished our program, she still managed to maintain that even throughout the Christmas period and the breaks and celebrations and, parties, all of that, which is fantastic. Steph's journey has been amazing and really inspiring. And that's why I've got her here today so she can share her story with us. She's been very dedicated, very consistent, and really committed to making healthier choices for herself and creating healthier, happier version of herself. And of course, I couldn't be more proud. So today we're going to hear her story. And Steph, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did we end up here?
Hi, everyone. I feel like I've dieted my entire life. I've gone on, you name the diet, I've probably tried it and every extreme version of it, lost the weight and always put the weight back on plus some. And that has been the story of my life. And I got to the point where I was recently just gaining and not able to lose any weight. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this on my own. And I saw Anastasia's post on Facebook and I thought, yeah, I need some help. So that's why I started working with Anastasia.
Awesome. Well, it was a sign you were ready for the change. So how long did we work together?
We worked together, I think it was 9 months in total.
Yeah. And during that 9 months, you still, it wasn't a really strict or anything like that. There's a few changes that you needed to make, but you still occasionally went out and went to your favorite restaurants and...
Yes. So, definitely had balance in my life in the sense that Anastasia put a plan into place for me, which I follow. I would say I would follow 90% of the time, but there were allowances. I'm a busy working mum, a business owner, and there are always situations that you can't necessarily avoid, but you can make better choices. And Anastasia helped me to learn what those better choices are so that I wouldn't go fall off track as such and then get straight back on as soon as possible thereafter.
Yeah. And so tell me a little, what did you learn about food specifically for you? How did it affect your body and your health? And which foods were impacting your weight and how you felt next day?
Yeah. So I was eating a lot of highly processed foods, a lot of things that didn't have a lot of nutritional value in them, and high fatty foods as well as. Anastasia helped me realize that I wasn't really fueling my body. I wasn't fueling my body for sort of the exercise that I would ultimately need and also for ultimate health. I had to make a shift into eating sort of whole, less processed foods, a lot more vegetables, a lot more whole grains and lean meats. So that was the journey that I had to go on with Anastasia.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed with your weight is that when you ate white rice, your weight would just jump up immediately. Some people can eat white rice and they're fine, nothing happens, but your body just did not like white rice for some reason.
Yeah, which is such a shame. Having an Asian background, white rice has been a big part of my diet. And so that was a very difficult thing for me to let go. I had to switch that out for brown rice, which didn't have the same impact. So that has been a lifestyle adjustment.
But are you still having white rice now? Do you have it time to time?
Yeah, no, I certainly still have it time to time. I don't opt for it as often, but if I go out and I have sushi, for instance, it's generally white rice sushi.
And the thing is, when you jump on scales and your weight's gone up by a kilo overnight, it's not fat. You need to hit I don't know, I can't remember what number, but it's nearly 10,000 calories to gain a kilo of fat overnight, which is impossible, especially when you're eating around 2,000 calories a day. Impossible. So clearly it's not fat that we're gaining overnight if scales jump up, and there could be other reasons. And for you, when you ate white rice, there's clearly some sort of water retention happen. There could be inflammation, it could be how your body reacted to that food or something. But it wasn't a fat. And so in those cases, you have to ask yourself, what is it actually doing to my body? Why am I retaining so much water? Why am my body feeling inflamed? Why am I feeling suddenly puffy? Is this beneficial for my body? And it's where you have to just make choices for yourself. Do I want to carry on having this or not? Because you're not gaining fat from it. It's just your body is not happy for whatever reason. And that reason could be very different for everyone.
Yeah.
During our journey, have you learned, or what have you learned, or how your understanding of your hormones changed?
Yep. So I realized that, the hormones do play a really important part in women later on in life, losing that excess padding as such. I realized that, you've got to balance your hormones, and you've got to, and for me, a big part of that was sort of getting stress under control. I know that when I'm stressed in particularly, I don't make the best choices. And also I have that response, and I know that I carry my extra weight around my middle, which is very sort of cortisol driven. So I realized that I need to manage that stress. So both in sort of mentally as well through, yoga, but also, supplements have helped in that regard. So through recommendations through Anastasia.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you made any changes to your exercise routine, like apart from introducing yoga? And I was actually having a conversation about running the other day as well. Like, what changes have you made to your routine?
Yeah. So when I first started with Anastasia, I wasn't exercising at all. Every excuse under the sun not to exercise. I was tired. I was busy. I didn't like it. And I would say I really pushed back on exercising with Anastasia. She was like, Stephanie, you just got to do 10 minutes a day. And I wouldn't find the time. Still wouldn't find the time. And then, with the continued education, it was like, it's not just about helping you shed excess weight. It's about longevity, and it's about your health ultimately, and maintaining some muscle mass and bone density. And so all these extra benefits to why I should be exercising. So then I was like, yeah, okay. So I did. So I started off very, very slowly. I just started walking for about 20 minutes a day. And then Anastasia suggested a couple of online apps for really short little workouts. I was only talking about, 10, maybe 20 minutes of my day. And then I was like, oh, this is quite enjoyable. Quite like this. And so those workouts got a little bit longer. And I think the turning point was when I joined the gym. So I started to do a lot of heavy lifting at the gym, and I was seeing some really, really amazing results in body recomposition. And so I was really, really enjoying that. And then I joined a different gym which had a circuit class and a really good sense of community. And so I've also added that in. So some weight training, some circuit training, and I've just very recently introduced some running as well as. So every day I have movement incorporated into my day. Some days it's just, it'll just be a nice leisurely walk, but I always try to factor something in. And this has been a huge, big shift, and something that I plan to maintain moving forward for forever.
Yeah, how amazing is that, and it happens quite often. A lot of women come into the program and they're all about the weight loss. And then suddenly as we go through the program, and it does take longer than 16 weeks to get into the habit, the mindset shift. And they starting to look into, okay, well, it's not about weight. It's not just about the losing belly fat. It's about feeling stronger, feeling good, and exercising. And when you exercise, you have the endorphins afterwards, and you feel actually amazing. And I know with myself, I don't like it. Like, if I didn't have to exercise, I probably maybe would not. It's not that, I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited to wake up so I can exercise today. Never.
Yeah.
I would say like, But I do. I exercise daily, and I look at it as it's like my pill for mental health, right? It's my pill for longevity. We take our vitamins. You got to exercise for the same reason. And I get bored. Like, going for walks, if I'm by myself, is boring. So I always say either podcast or listen to audiobook, or sometimes I'm catching up on my work, or I'm actually sometimes even creating the reels.
Yeah.
Or doing work while I'm walking. Like, yes, of course, you want to sink in all the beautiful birds and the views and then whatever, and relax and enjoy. But for people like us who have really busy minds, it's hard to shut it off sometimes. So I'm not saying shut it off. Pick your battles. You can still do other things while you're walking. So you kind of feel sense of achievement. You got what you needed to do for work, or listen to the book, but also you've exercised. And even on the days that I really don't feel like exercising, I still go and do it. I go through the motions. I don't go heavy. I just tick the box to make sure that I've done it. I've done what I'm supposed to, and I'll feel so much better afterwards. And it gives you that sense of achievement and satisfaction that you've actually done something for yourself today. But also for us as women, we need to remember that as we get older, our estrogen is going to go down, which means our bone density is going to go down, and we need to do resistance training to prevent osteoporosis. Because if that happens, which is fragile bones, then it's easy to break hip or bone or whatever when we fall, and then complications are quite impactful later in life. So exercising now in your 30s, 40s, even 50s, I say it's like insurance. It's you're putting, it's your savings. You're putting that saving for future, for your longevity, for your health. So you can be, mobile and can enjoy your life when you retire and not be bedridden. So that's so good. I'm so excited that you actually got yourself into exercising. And yes, you go through the stages where you're probably like, I don't feel like doing it often enough and I just don't want to exercise anymore at all. And it happens. But then you can always pick it up because you can. You know how it makes you feel, which is awesome.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. Like you get fitter and you get stronger and you think, wow, I couldn't do that previously. And then one day you're doing it and it feels really good. And there's always goals to achieve. And I like that you said, because that was something that stuck with me during our time, was that exercise is your insurance and your insurance for your health. And I thought, that's a good way of looking at it. So,
and I was so shocked when you text me. It's like, about running, will it increase my... I was like, running? Who's running? Why are we talking about running? And you're like, I'm running. I'm like, you enjoy.
Yeah, I'd like to be a runner one day, but, got to start somewhere.
As long as it doesn't, you don't feel like it's putting too much stress on your body and you're not going 10Ks every day and things like that. And you're just going for a little run here and there just to get your heart rate up. It's absolutely fine. It's not going to impact your cortisol. There's all other things that will impact your cortisol in more, like undereating, not sleeping, not recovering, dealing with shitty, toxic people. There's all the other things that you have to look. And running by itself just not going to, that much damage, if that makes sense. So the amount of running that you're doing is absolutely fine and super beneficial for you, in my opinion. So what mind shift?
That food is fuel for my body and I need to be putting the best fuel into my body. Big one. And enough of that fuel. So I think I've been a chronic undereater. I thought the only way I could actually ever lose excess weight is through starvation, ultimately.
Yeah.
It was an absolute shock for me when we initially started and I had to eat what I considered a huge volume of calories. And I was just like, Anastasia's mad. Yes. And then, once I got used to eating good food at the right volumes and then she started to reduce it, I was like, ugh. So I realize now it's really, really important that I eat enough and I eat enough of really good food. So that was a huge learning or a huge mind shift for me, and that make really good choices with that food because, if I eat something that's not as good for me, there are consequences, and not just the scale consequences, there are the internal body consequences. How does that make my body feel? I feel that sort of stuff like in my knees, inflammation in my knees and swelling in my fingers particularly. So it's being really, really conscious and aware of those food choices. And also, the deep fried trans saturated fat.
Oh God, those fats, they're
being really bad for you. They're so incredibly prevalent, when you go out to restaurants or you go and have takeaways.
Yes.
Actually really, So, making the best choices that you can that don't revolve around those foods. So that's been a really big shift as well. So I eat far less quantity of that type of food because I know damage that it's doing.
Yeah. And just think of it like fried food and that same oil just keep getting reheated and reheated. I don't want to think about what happens to it, but it's crazy. You feel like you have tools that you need now to carry on live healthier lifestyle?
Yes, I think, there's been, Anastasia's been very motivational during these things. And every time I've kind of backpedaled or she's always offered tools that, make me think, okay, this is what I need to be doing. And I've, we've done this slowly together over the course of 9 months. It's been, 16 kilos in 9 months. That's sustainable. And I haven't, I've lost it in the past. I've lost it very, very rapidly. like through really bad choices, and then gained it all back, faster than what I lost it, plus some, and it was really hard to shift. So it's been a really sustainable process for me, a really gradual one, not that sense of deprivation that normally is associated with trying to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do feel like I am armed with the tools to maintain this loss moving forward. And hopefully, it's not the end of my journey. I'm going to continue to exercise, make gains in what I'm doing through size and strength and fitness and whatnot. But also, I've still got a little bit of goal to shift just a little extra for insurance purposes, basically.
Yeah.
So that when it is Christmas time or it's birthday time, you can have a little extra something.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. That's amazing. That's so good to hear. I'm so pleased to hear that. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your amazing success story. I hope it's going to be motivational and empowering and encouraging for some other people as well, because it's always hard to start. I think the hardest part is getting started and committing to yourself, especially first 2-3 weeks are the hardest.
Yes.
If you have any questions about this podcast or about hormones, weight loss, or just healthier lifestyle, please go to our website at lifehackcoaching.co.nz or feel free to email me directly, Anastasia@lifehackcoaching.co.nz.